Another frequent guest on my channel, the Memes of Destruction, our audience member. It's another good name.
Yeah. These are all great band names.
I know. There's another one, Chimbrazo. We'll get to that. He asked, are stars alive? I'm going to change that to, what's the minimum, kind of astrophysical entity that you could say is alive or features life? Could you have a dark cloud like Arthur C. Clarke? Or, what's the minimum common ancestor, stellar astrophysical prerequisite?
Yeah, so this is not the way I would ask that question. So I'm going to answer. Yeah, so because it's kind of like the what is life question, and then what are other examples of life? This is what we would canonically think, and I just don't think that's the right way of framing it. What I would think is clearly we exist in the universe as life, which means that the laws of physics are structured for life to exist, and I'm interested in those laws that specifically explain life, which my claim is are not the laws of physics as we know them now. They're different kind of law of physics, and they have very different, the laws of physics that explain life have very different properties. For example, they're not cast in this kind of initial state, fixed law of motion kind of framework, which we didn't talk about, but like that's an aside. But anyway, just imagine, there is some structure to the universe, causal structure. The universe is a causal graph, so to speak, an assembly space. Then everything has that property, just like everything has the property of existing in space and time in gravity, right? Like there's a space-time manifold that defines the properties of the universe. And then some physical systems like us are very high assembly. And you could think of them, like in the gravitational analogy, as being objects that have very strong gravitational potential wells, like planetary systems, galaxies, or black holes are good examples to study gravitational physics. Things that are good examples to study causal structure in the universe, or this kind of feature of information being causal, or whatever you want to call it, are living things. Now, is that apparent in other examples like stars or other kinds of systems we could study? Of course it should be, because it's a feature of our universe. But the question is, to what degree? And so I wouldn't really call things alive unless they're very high assembly objects, like the kind that we talk about in terms of molecular assembly theory. But assembly is supposed to be general and apply to anything. And so I don't think stars have crossed that threshold, but I think that stars have, like you can think about the contingency in stellar generations and the kind of elemental distributions they have. They do have a clear, this population of stars had to come before this population of stars. Otherwise, there's no reason for this elemental distribution. So they have a causal structure associated to them.
Mm-hmm.